Hello.
Welcome to the Nobody Talks About It podcast.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Karen. And today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people might be thinking, but nobody's really saying out loud.
So let's get started.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to episode 2. Today we're talking about marriage. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Karen. And as you know, because you are our number one fans, last episode we talked about kids. And well, marriage, kids, they go together. We did kids first, like some people these days do, but now we're going to be talking about marriage. And in this episode, we're going to cover a few things. Mainly, what's the point of getting married? We know over the years it's changed a lot, so we're going to get into how it's changed, reflect on why it's changed, and dig into why people are still choosing to do this.
Wow. Are we really doing all that?
That's the plan. We have the notes. We're ready.
All right. I got some stats too. Wow. Okay. So let's get started, I guess. Do we want to say that or not say that? For me, recently, I feel like I've seen like a lot of people getting divorced. Like, for example, there was this one couple that I used to exercise at the gym with. And, they got like a little romantic gym thing going on. And then after the gym, I guess, or a while at the gym, they formed a relationship. And I saw through social media that they got married. And, for a couple of years, it was like anniversary 1, anniversary 2. And then all of a sudden I see like they're not together, like they're off doing their separate things. And it's an assumption, but from what I can see is like I feel like they got divorced because they no longer post together, they no longer talk about each other. So I started to say like, wow, there's a lot of like divorces happening, and I'm like, is marriage still a thing? Are people still getting married? And that's how I got onto this idea here.
And, marriage is certainly changing. And I think I'm curious about, why people are still choosing to get married. In this day and age, many people are delaying marriage, choosing to never get married, choosing
Yeah.
to live with someone and not formalize that. So, I think before we get into the stats and reasons for why people choose to do this today, I think it's really important we need to examine the past, because marriage, was obviously much more common in the past. This idea of traditional marriage, which now I think is a little bit archaic and outdated.
Yeah.
In the past, I think marriage was a need. Women, there was this idea that women needed men to survive. And I think people got married for this survival concept. It was the practical thing to do.
Exactly. Like women had no choice really in the
Yeah.
past.
We needed men, to provide the financial aspect so we can have and be the ones to prepare dinner on the table. But I
Oh
think
no.
if
Oh no, 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 no. Thank God times have changed. No,
and
no, 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 no.
but I think a few key things happened that have caused the marriage rates to fall. And as we said in the beginning, we got stats, people, we got the research. And since 1972, marriage
Ooh,
rates in the US have fallen by almost 50%.
wow.
And currently they're at the lowest point in recorded history. So when I was reading that, I was like, what happened? And I looked up a bunch of things that occurred in the 60s and 70s that really caused, I think, women to gain the independence and the ability to choose not to get married. For example, we had the Equal Pay Act, which was when women finally were, well, they're supposed to be paid equally to men.
Mm,
Um,
yeah, okay. Sorry.
Unclear how successful that has been over the years, but
Exactly.
and then there was another thing that impacted women's finances called the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. And With this act, women now they could have their own bank account, they could get a credit card, they could apply for a loan, and all of these things together um, gave them more independence. They could get their own property. So,
Hallelujah.
so they were able to begin controlling their own finances that they didn't need to rely on men.
Yeah. Women were like, we're done. We're done depending on a man. Let's do this for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so definitely important things that happened in the past that set us up for our freedom from the chains and bonds of marriage.
And whether or not some of us should be controlling our own finances, well, that's another story, but here we are. So
Exactly.
I think women realize we don't need men. And the stats, here we go, drum roll, make a little sound with the music on
Oh,
the
I
app
don't know
we're
how to do.
recording. Oh, all right, we'll
Oh,
get there. Let
forget
me know when
that.
you're ready.
Oh, there.
There we go, drum roll.
No, there wasn't a drum roll,
There is. I hear something.
but that's not a
Not a
drum roll.
roll, but like a, hitting of the hitting of the
Yeah.
tambourine.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
anyway, if you look at the stats, the marriage rates in the US have fallen since 1972, which directly corresponds with all these
Changes.
historical
Yeah.
movements that happened, yeah, for in favor of women. And the rates have fallen by almost 50% since 1972, and currently they're at the lowest point in recorded history. So I do think that shows that we have choice now.
Yeah.
We don't need to rely on a man to bring home the food that we then
Bring
need to
home the
cook,
bacon.
right?
Yeah.
Bring home the bacon.
Yeah.
Bring home the bacon and we prepare the bacon.
Yeah. So in the media, we've heard about this, right? Of late, if you've been paying attention to the media, that fact has been salient that marriage is down, and even having children is down. And there's been a push in media from certain people to procreate and to get married and the family. So, um,
Why are people still getting married, Michelle? Why are they doing it?
I don't know. I don't know. This
The
is like,
past, yeah, the past, there's acts,
right.
historical movements that show, okay, basically women now
Women
are going to get more freedom, more independence. So to me, that adds up to why the numbers have changed. But people overwhelmingly in society
are
are still getting
still getting
married.
married. Well, according to my statistics, the number one reason that people get married, can you guess? Any ideas? Guess? Is for love.
Love.
Yes, love. 88% of the people are choosing to get
Wow.
married, or they're citing. People are citing that the overwhelming
Okay.
reason that they get married is for
Okay.
love. 88%.
Allegedly is love.
Allegedly,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Love. And then after that comes commitment. So the idea of commitment. Um,
And
that's
aren't you committed if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend?
oh, that's a good question. Commitment.
Although
Yeah.
I do think there's something about, pronouncing the vows in
You
front of
know what?
friends and family, signing the dotted line or whatever you do when you get married.
Well, yeah, it makes it more formalized. But you know what's interesting about the commitment thing? Like you're signing your life away there, right? You're just like you're signing on that dotted line and you are, committed like the it says. But I don't know if that necessarily is going to make your marriage successful or I just see some people that are in relationships and they aren't formally married, and they're thriving and they have not signed on the dotted line. So I don't know if that's a really good reason in my personal opinion. But that's the number two reason. The third reason, which is interesting, is companionship, right? And I
Knowing
don't
that
know,
you'll always have somebody there.
get a
That
dog. You know what I'm saying? Get a dog. Do we need to have a person?
man's best friend's a dog. Um,
Oh
well, I
gosh.
think it's the idea that at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you're going to go home. And I guess if you live with someone, that would happen anyway. But knowing that this person is tied to you legally, they can't just run away. Or they can, but they
They can. Yeah, it's a
they
little harder.
shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then 49% are still getting married because they want to have children. But what's
What?
interesting about all this is that only 28% cite for financial reasons,
Mm,
which is quite different than what we were talking about before earlier, how we were saying that women were getting married because they really had no options. They had to for
yeah.
financial reasons. So now only 28% are citing that for financial reasons they're getting married. So there has been a big change. So we're going from finance to love. People are getting
Love.
married for love.
Now, I do think as a non-math person, when Michelle told me these statistics, she was like 88, 81, 76, 49, 28. I was like, that doesn't add up to 100%. So can you just clarify?
No. Yes. Okay. So it just means that when surveyed, a large portion, 88% of the people are citing love as. I don't
Hmm.
understand the statistics. Why are you putting me on the spot for the
Well, maybe these
statistic?
are the things they selected. Like I
Right.
selected
These are the
love. I
things that they
selected,
selected as the reasons why they get married.
yeah, big three
Right.
reasons.
The big 3 reasons,
The big
right? So they
three.
you know how you take those surveys, check the boxes that apply. These are the ones that they applied
All
for.
right, all right, all right.
All
Interesting. That
right.
actually really is interesting, though, that out of all of these financial reasons are the lowest, because that definitely contradicts what happened,
Earlier.
before the
Yeah.
70s. Yeah, interesting.
Exactly, exactly.
But I,
So go ahead, sorry.
no, I do think, though, this idea of a traditional marriage is still prioritized in society. Traditional marriage and marriage being the backbone of creating a family.
So yeah, I mean, people are choosing to continue to get married for love, and, I think it's because they see marriage as the foundation of stability, no? And, it's the backbone of the family. And besides tradition and being able to start a family, when you get married, there's like a ton of legal and financial benefits, right? I mean, there's just like a ton.
Oh, now we're talking. All right, enlighten me. I mean, I've heard of, yeah, tax breaks,
Of course.
benefits connected to health insurance, family leave, medical
Exactly.
decisions, right? Having someone there to, well, that's a little morbid, but having someone there to make decisions for you that you
Right.
trust.
Uh-huh. Their retirement benefits.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, the idea of combining your assets, inheritances, what else?
Death
Will,
benefits.
wills. If you're married, I guess you're first on the will.
If you're lucky, because there's no
If
guarantee
you're
in that
lucky, there's
either.
no guarantee. There could be a
Exactly.
mistress.
Okay, Karen. So, but even though there are all these wonderful benefits of getting married, right?
That cause people to see marriage as a human and civil right, because it's beyond just the, what was it, 88% of love. It's that it could actually make your life easier when you have these benefits.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to look at it from like a business point of view, yes,
Mhm.
it could make your life a lot easier. Um,
Marriage could be a business decision.
exactly.
Choose wisely.
Choose wisely. Choose wisely. But even though people are still getting married, darling, it doesn't seem to be lasting because when I look around, I don't see like, oh, I've been married for 50 years, like in the old days. You know what I'm saying? Like parents or people were married for like years and years.
Before we get into divorce, let's be optimistic about marriage for a little bit. I think it will be interesting to see how the legalization of same sex marriages impacts the marriage rate. Because right now, worldwide, same sex marriages account for about 3% of all marriages. And within the US, it's about 1.2%. So I'm wondering, how will the stats change in favor of marriage as more members of our population have access to that human and civil right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's true.
Back to the pessimism, since we just did the optimism, you just were mentioning marriages are not lasting. We've
I
established that
love that.
people are still getting married.
People
but
are
they're
still
not
getting married,
lasting. But
and they're
marriages are
choosing
not
love.
lasting.
Love,
They're
88%
loving,
are choosing for love.
but they don't seem to be lasting. So why is there a shift? Why is it harder for people to stay married now?
So before we get into why that is happening, right? Why they're not lasting, did you want me to talk about my point of view? From my point of view, like what I'm
Sure.
noticing?
Yeah.
Well, did you know that there is this thing called the gray divorce?
Is that like a gray area? It's not really a divorce. It sort of is.
No, it's called the gray divorce. And this is
Okay. I
actually
never
something
heard
that
of
I
it.
learned. Yeah, either did I. Because remember, I started this whole conversation with you guys mentioning how, like, I noticed that this couple got divorced and I started to look around and a lot of people are getting divorced. And I noticed like a lot of people around my age group, Generation X, we're in our 50s, um, they're just getting divorced. And I'm like, what is going on? Is it me or is this a thing? And believe it or not, it is a thing. It's called the gray divorce. And that rate, people 50 and older, has
Wow.
doubled between 19 it started in 1990. And between 1990 and 2010, which was the last statistic that I could find, it had doubled the rate. So, people in their 50s or older are getting divorced. They're choosing to not continue with their marriages. And what I find interesting, correct me if I'm wrong, follow my logic here. All right.
Following.
Okay, follow. So this started in 1990, but I think what happened was like the 70s. Remember earlier we talked about how, like in the 70s, there was, what did you say? There was the Credit Act and
Quiz for
women.
the audience. What were the two acts that happened?
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
The
So you,
two, yeah, Equal Pay Act and the fact that women, yeah, the Credit Act.
right. So they were able to like now be more financially independent. And that started back in the 70s. And
Hmm.
so then the 80s rolls in, right? So that started in the 70s. And then the 80s sets it up where we have maybe the loosening of the stigma of getting divorced, right? So women gain this financial independence and then the stigma of being divorced. Because back in the day in the 50s, could you imagine? You couldn't get divorced. That was like a no no. And maybe you couldn't afford it financially. And so now,
Right.
you know
Well, divorce was more difficultly religiously and by law
exactly,
during that
exactly.
time.
And so then in the 80s, right, my generation, fabulous generation, go 80s, the whole idea of getting divorced wasn't such like, "Oh my god," right? It was more socially acceptable. And so we roll into the 90s and everybody's like, "Yeah, I'm getting a divorce," right? And
Hmm.
so the gray divorce is just that. People who are in their 50s or older tend to get a divorce. Now that's just one
Hmm.
theory I have.
But what you're
I
saying
have
is since
others.
the 1970s, divorce rates have been increasing.
Yeah, and it's yeah, exactly. It has gone up because of the different factors that we're playing in society.
So presently, is it, yeah, so people know divorce rates are increasing, yet they're still choosing to get married.
Yeah. Why?
So are they rushing into marriage? Are there more factors in society that lead to that? I think a point you brought up earlier is that it's definitely more socially acceptable. And so many things right now are more socially acceptable. There are more choices than ever. And people are accepted whether they choose to focus on their career, travel the world, move in with someone for 5 or 10 years before they get engaged, enjoy the single life, focus on their friendships. All of those paths, people are admired for the decisions that they make.
Sorry, my battery is gonna die. I got a little lost. Did you mention, people are focusing on themselves and,
Yeah.
like,
And it's
wanting to
socially
be happier?
acceptable to,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's socially acceptable to focus on yourself. So going back to also what we said earlier, whereas marriage was a need, it was the practical thing to do. Now people are focusing on their emotional fulfillment. They're reinventing this whole
Well,
traditional family structure.
interesting. I just read an article in the New York Times and it talked about relationships too. And it pointed out that now when we find or when we're looking for a partner, there's more responsibility that we're putting on them. right?
Mhm.
And it's like that comes with a price. Like people are now expecting their partners to be their best friend, right? And that's an additional weight that the person has to carry, right?
Mm.
Is your partner supposed to be your best friend too? And so some people have that expectation. So that you need to help me around the house, right? So you need to take care of the house. You need to like take care of the children, right? You need to like take care of me, my needs. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be my best friend. You need to be my
You need to give me
psychologist, my therapist.
attention.
Exactly. So there's like a lot of roles that each person needs to fulfill. And I think, and I think that has, um, or could lead to negative effects, on a
Okay, my
relationship, a
batteries my
strain.
bad.
Yeah, my battery's going to die.
Okay. So, Michelle, why did you choose to get married?
Oh, yeah. Did I fail to mention that I'm married? Right? I am. I'm married. I've been married for, let's see, how many years? I can't remember how old my kids are. See, I think I've been married. What year are we in? We're in the year 25. I will be married 25 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
I know. Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. And I have to say, like, why did I get married? I think I would fall. Ooh, that was my dog. Sorry. I think I would fall under the love. Most definitely. I got married for love. And let's see, financial. Nope, that's not it. No, I'm broke. Nope, nope, nope. Commitment, definitely commitment. Yes, I wanted to get married for commitment. Actually, I have to say love because I was at one point saying to my mom, I'm never going to get married. And then I fell in love with my fabulous husband and I got married. And Most definitely that. I have to say though, side comment, marriage is hard, takes a lot of work, and commitment and is big, and companionship. As you get
Mhm.
older, super important companionship,
But you
right?
have a
So working
dog.
towards that. Yeah, I got a dog. You heard it. She's good. Sometimes, she's a good dog. And you, Karen? What about you?
I just haven't been in a rush. I wouldn't say I'm resistant to it or I don't want it, but I've wanted adventures in my life. I've wanted to teach in different parts of the world, and I've wanted to do some of these things alone and have this experience. I guess, as we say earlier, focusing on myself. But I just haven't felt the rush to do it. That's
Okay.
changing. I'm 39.
I respect that. And I like that. Well, that's great, Karen. I mean, I chose marriage and everything's going well for me. Um, I go, as well as it can be. Why is it okay? This is another podcast topic, Karen. Why is it so terrible to say that everything is going great when it's not really going great, but it is going great at the same time? You know what I'm saying? So for you, you've chosen your path and you're happy with your path. And then you say something like that, and it's like, are you happy? Okay, I'm ranting. So I'm married, you're not. And whether you want to get married or not, marriage does not look like it did in the past. And in this episode, we talked about marriage and we started with the question of, is marriage still a thing and why are people doing it?
And what's the
What's
point?
the point of marriage? And marriage has evolved over time, right? We looked at the history and what happened, and it looks vastly different than it did in the past. Or maybe no, it doesn't look vastly different. I don't know.
Well, it's changed. I think the reasons for why people got married have are different now.
Most definitely. And we looked at the question of why are people still getting married? Um,
So let us
in the
know.
comments
Are
below.
you married for love? Do you want to get married for love or do you want to get married for
Show me the money.
money
Yeah. Or
or
sexual satisfaction.
sex?
Yeah. All right, guys, you made it to the end. Until next time, peace out.
See you soon.
Congratulations, and thanks for listening.
We really appreciate it.
You made it to the end.
There we go.
Remember to follow our show and comment below.
And if you really liked us,
Connect with us on social media at the Nobody Talks About It podcast.
until next time.
Bye.